Well, but you talk about the literacy issue, and I agree, and the literacy issue spans probably all intellectual thought, not just science, across the board. We're really taking the creative, what you call the creative impulse, the humanist impulse, exhibited in children up until about the 7th or 8th grade, where the excitement and the learning, anything that is new is welcome, is essentially drowned.
Totally.
In a fact-based teaching system. So improvement of, I agree with you that improvement of public literacy is important. So how do you do that? You bring up the issue of democracy. Doesn't the structure of government, the communication systems that it provides, the values that it projects, come into play here? And for example, I think there are roughly 52 countries that have very high-level offices for ministers of culture, etc., tasked with the stewardship and the advancement, the preservation of that country's culture. We don't have that. We don't have a seat in the cabinet. So where is the representation that could bring about appropriate structure and the resource allocations, et cetera, and the annual considerations of funds? Because at the end of the day, it does come down to the economic issue of whether there are resources to even support people to pursue these issues that we're talking about. So, I mean, Jefferson was brilliant. He was obviously, I think if you and he were here having this conversation, you'd agree on most points. Franklin, John Adams, all of these people valued the humanities, valued the classics, valued what they had learned from the evolution, the history of the evolution of government, etc. Yet the fundamental structures. So my question is, do we have a failure in the fundamental structure of our government in terms of supporting the very issues that we're talking about, even the exploration? Is that a flaw, a problem that we're going to continue to suffer from?
Well, let me address the problem in a moment, because I want to make sure I really understand it. As a footnote, I read once, for example, that one of the reasons that Apple has been so successful has to do with design issues, which visual issues, which are not strictly technical ones, which shows you that even in the development of science and technology, the separation of the technical and what you might call the humanistic is not so simple. Going back to your question, I think the problem has nothing to do with the structure of government. I, for example, given the little that I know about government, and the more I know, the less I like it. So although I'm a card-carrying liberal and believe in the role of government in our lives and its essential function, I emotionally understand why there are Tea Party adherents. Because if you've ever tried to get a driver's license or apply for a grant, or ever dealt with a government bureaucracy, one is horrified by the fact that we somehow don't have a real sense of pride at how government delivers services. So I'm not sure the solution to the problem is to create a cabinet office of culture. I don't think it's impossible, because the role of culture and learning in a democracy, especially in America, is different. So in the European nations and other nations, the history of the relation of culture and the national identity is different. The Austrians have a Ministry of Culture because they're selling it. It's their primary industry. They're selling tourism, Mozart candies, and that's what they're there for. And it's a function of national pride, the way the monarchy is for the English. In our country, we rightfully have an egalitarian, anti-intellectual streak, where the man or woman who has no education is not, as a citizen, inferior to those of us who are highly educated. That on some ethical and moral plane, which has a Christian root, human achievement, whether it's wealth or education, does not make you closer to God. And there's a kind of fundamental egalitarianism. In such a system, the idea that the state should declare some culture worthy of subsidy and others not Because we're really talking about the non-commercial arts. Most presidents, including the current incumbent and his predecessors, are not very persuaded that there's a difference between the Oscars and the art of film. They're the same. And I think they think about music. So, Beyoncé it's got to be better than Schoenberg because more people want to listen to her. And the recent, revisionist criticism about Norman Rockwell, who was a very good painter. But the fact is, the stuff we hang in museums, a lot of people think is a conspiracy theory. People want to know what people paid many millions of dollars for a big, ugly, garish pig made by Jeff Koons. These are crazy people who talk them into a tulip, mania in art. So you couldn't get agreement, legitimate agreement, about what should be subsidized. Classical music has always suffered in the United States because it's been viewed somehow as elitist and European, not really American, an import. The problem, it seems to me, is that we have failed to make a real case, I fear, both for the humanities and the sciences, in a kind of a know-nothing anti-intellectualism that is undiminished in American politics. It is, and the manipulation of ignorance in the electoral process. And, there still isn't a movie in Hollywood which depicts an intelligent, literate lover of literature as a manly hero. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
So our definition of masculinity, particularly in popular culture, has nothing to do with learning or discernment. We have a much deeper cultural advocacy about, in my view, about motivating learning and intellectual achievement, because the good news is that everybody seems to realize more or less that the real economy of the nation is dependent on the skill set of the workforce. And that skill set turns out to be sophisticated. And it's about problem solving. It's about, it's both technical and conceptual. And that the quality of education is crucial. So I'm not sure that having a Ministry of Culture, for example, here, we have a Ministry of Education, which was a recent addition to the cabinet historically. And I think probably that's a good thing. That's probably a good thing. And I think America does suffer from too much decentralization of its schools in management. Your experience, for example, when you're in Kansas about a school system just getting rid of the teaching of evolution because some people argued that it was not science but a religious doctrine. That kind of stuff no child should be subjected to that kind of discrimination or removal of their rights to be taught the truth. So a Ministry of Education is one thing. I think a Ministry of Culture is a dubious proposition. And I think given the current mood of the country, the idea, I'm more worried whether the Congress has any advocates left in it for the research university. I'm concerned on not so much the humanities, that worries me less, than the future of basic research and the support of the instruments in the federal government that have always been collaborators with universities in developing research programs and sustaining them in the sciences. I mean, there used to be many more defenders, not only Senator Moynihan many decades ago, but even more recently. And Rush Holt is just retiring from Congress. And so there are a lot of doctors apparently in our Congress, but people who really understand what a university does, not too many. And tragically, I'm not sure our president, who is a faculty member at law school and graduate good institutions, is as appreciative as a university as one might have expected him to be, and that's what I fear.